والمحاضرة التالية ستكون للبروفيسور محمد الهاشمي القادم من كندا، من تورونتو الكندية، من أجل تقديم محاضرة حول الشركات الناشئة ومساهمتها في الابتكار. شكرا جزيلا لك بروفيسور، نعطيك الميكرو. تحية كبيرة للبروفيسور.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. أود قبل كل شيء أهنئ الطاقم المسؤول على المؤتمر. يعني اليوم الأول كان ناجح ما شاء الله درجة يعني A+. فأود أشكر الأخوين اللي يعني عملوا باجتهاد لتجميع يعني وجوه نيرة في مستقبل الجزائر. تهاني لكم وتهاني للوزارة الجديدة اللي هي وزارة ستارت اب، هي نفسها يعني ستارت اب. وفيه يعني الوزير كان معنا أمس دكتور وليد وطاقمه الصغير، لكن عندهم امباكت يعني كبير. فهنيئا لهذه المبادرة، وإن شاء الله نشوف مبادرات أخرى في المستقبل ناجحة. مجموعة من الملاحظات قبل ما أبدأ. الملاحظة الأولى هي يعني مستوى المحاضرات الأربع أمس. والله أنا أحضر يعني تجربتي، حضرت في محاضرات ومؤتمرات دولية في أكثر من 30 دولة، وصنف المستوى أمس يعني بممتاز. فالجزائر إن شاء الله في طريق صحيح من ناحية يعني تبني العلم والمعرفة لمستقبل أفضل للجزائر. وإحنا يعني في قاعة يعني تسمى على اسم مفدي زكريا، يذكرني ببيت شعر قالوا بيت مفدي زكريا يعني: جزائر يا موطن المعجزات ويا حجة الله في الكائنات. فيعني المستوى اللي شفته أمس والمستوى الشباب الموجود هنا ذكرني بالبيت شعر، وبيت شعر قالوا يعني مفدي زكريا اللي هذه القاعة مسمي عليه. يعني الشيء الثاني أن أمس يعني كان معنا مجموعة من الوزراء. أول مرة في حياتي أشوف أن العلم والمعرفة والعلماء وضعوا لهم يعني بساط أحمر. عادة هذا البساط يعني يوضع للفنانين والفنانات والأمور هذه مهمة. يعني احنا الآن في يعني قصر الثقافة، لكن أول مرة أشوف أن العلماء اللي هم يعني يساهموا في إن شاء الله الجزائر أحسن في المستقبل وضعوا لهم يعني بساط أحمر. فهذه يعني مبروك على الجماعة اللي وضعوها هذه. الشيء الثالث هي يعني ذكرت أن مستوى المحاضرات والمناقشات، يعني لأن مش فقط إلقاء المحاضرة. شفت أمس المجموعة من الأسئلة كانت ممتازة. يعني أنا محاضرة اليوم يعني طولي نصف ساعة. قلت الأخ محمد سنوسي ممكن يعني خليها نصف ساعة على الأقل تكون فيه يعني نقاش بعد، لأن النقاش في بعض الأحيان يعني is two way بالإنجليش، يعني فيه يعني مفيد للجانبين. فالشيء اللي حبيت أقوله يعني كانت أمس المستوى ممتاز، ومستوى المحاضرة دكتور فريد بالعمري يعني ما شاء الله هو يعني قمة في الجزائرية في قطر. فأهنئ يعني بكل هذه الإنجازات اللي تمت من خلال أقل من عامين. مبروك عليك. وان شاء الله تكون انجازات اخرى. اول مره حتى انا اشوف يعني ملتقى بهذا اللغتين العربيه والانجليزيه. هنيئا للجزائر بالتخلص من العباءه الفرنسيه. يعني ذكرت مفدي زكريا اللي سجن يعني في من الفرنسيين. هذه يعني المؤتمر او المحاضره نهديها لمفدي زكريا لانه ما شفتش امس اي شيء بالفرنسيه، وان شاء الله نكملوا في هذه الامور. محاضرتي يعني حتكون باللغه الانجليزيه، اذا فيه يعني من ناحيه النقاشات والاسئله ممكن نعملوا اشياء بالعربيه، ما في اي مشكله ان شاء الله. The title of my presentation is Leveraging Startup and Venture Creation as a Vehicle to Drive Innovation. And I'm going to share with you my own experience in university in Canada, located in the city of Toronto. I'll put you in the context. I have been in this university for the last 20+4 years. I have been a president. The title of rector, we don't use it in English Canada. It's more on the French side. So I have been president for the last 6+ years. Before that, I was provost, same position as Dr. Balamri. And prior to that, I was dean of Faculty of Engineering and Science. So I would say for the last 12, 13 years, I have seen the progress of our university in terms of focusing on the aspect of innovation and entrepreneurship. And I'm going today to share with you our own experience. I'm not going to talk about other experiences. I know that we have some brilliant ideas happening around the world, but this is mainly our own experience at the university, and of course, is a Canadian experience. Our university is called now Toronto Metropolitan University. Just this year, we changed the name, and the old name was Ryerson University. We have a long history. Our university was actually, or our institution was born in 1948. 1948 was just after the end of the World War II. They needed really to help the economy by providing training and education for people who came back from World War II. And long journey, but the focus was always about applied education. So we have roots as a Polytechnic Institute, Polytechnic University, and we are now very comprehensive university. This year we have 48,000 students. I think it's a large university, and I am honored to be the leader and the president of this university. We have about 115 academic programs. I'm not talking about today research agenda, but I would like to talk mainly about our experience in entrepreneurship and innovation, and I will give you some highlights of the 10 innovation hubs that we have on campus. So we have 10 incubators. And the other thing that I will also like to start with is our concept of the role of the university in society. Dr. Farid has given us excellent advice about the role of the university. And I liked actually the concept that he put in place, especially the giving autonomy to the university. I know that in our country here, we inherited a system based on the French system where the university has very little autonomy, but I think one of the key issues is how to provide the university, or at least the leadership of the university, in making sure that accountability is important. And of course, what Dr. Farid has mentioned, as a president, I report to a board of governors. This morning I was in the car with Dr. Sanusi, and he said, "Oh, when you take vacation or when you travel, do you ask permission because you are the president?" I said, "I have a chair of the board. I inform them, but of course, I have the flexibility of using my own time." So that, I think, it's an important element also for the university in Algeria to adopt different system where we will see if we give them actually ability to think out of the box, push boundaries. I'm sure that they will surprise us. And I know a number of initiatives, especially this morning, I was in discussion with some colleagues and good friends coming from AURES, where they started something with that concept of innovation and startup. So in the presentation today, I'll talk a lot about the importance of interdisciplinary, because the university system was also based on silos. And I think we need to open the walls between those silos and create opportunities for interdisciplinary. I'll give you some examples today. So the three pillars that are important here when we talk about how we can fast-track innovation in the experience that we have at Toronto Metropolitan University. I'm going to use TMU in all the slides. The three pillars, the three pillars: interdisciplinary and academic collaboration, create opportunities for students and faculty to collaborate between them from different programs and fields. But also the other element or the other pillar is the collaboration with the outside world, with the industry, and also with the community around us. And I will go back to my first slide here. In terms of our location, we are located at the center of Toronto, the city of Toronto. We are actually at the intersection of Yonge and Dundas, which is the most crowded intersection in Canada. So that's an important element where you are when you are in downtown, the city of, and the Greater Toronto area has now about 6 to 7 million people. So in terms of the weight of the city, of course, is the most important city in the country. Most of the industries have their partners. When I talk to our students, I tell them that the whole GTA, what we call Greater Toronto area, is our living lab. And we don't have walls between our campus. This is our campus in the middle of the city. We don't have walls between us and the community, meaning that you have to empower students to use the whole Toronto as a living lab. And I can provide some examples. So that kind of the partnership with the industry. The other thing what is very powerful was mentioned also by Dr. Amri. I mentioned 115 programs. For each of the programs that we have an industry advisory board. Those are the people who are connecting us to the reality of the industry. But also those are the people who are also giving us ideas about the content of the curriculum. We revisit curriculum year after year because those are the people who are hiring our students. We don't want to produce or train or educate students that they will not be connected to the reality of the today. This third pillar is the culture of innovation. We want also that culture of innovation to be provided to students and of course to our faculty members to contribute to the needs of society. You cannot just do things if there is gap between us and the need of society. So those are the three pillars. Let's move now to the next item, which is the challenges of the future demand for a new mindset. I'm going to talk in this presentation about the mindset where the university has to change the way of thinking of our students. Mindset is the way to think. طريقة تفكير الطالب. Why is that important? Actually, I put here 3 reports. One produced by an international consulting firm, McKinsey. The other one is produced by the World Economic Forum. And in the context of Canada, the third one is produced by the Business Council of Canada. And all the 3 reports are talking about the importance of soft skills. Because the problem sometimes, we think about just the technical aspects and we neglect the importance of soft skills. And those are extremely important. This is why people will hire students if they possess the following skills or competencies. And what I am putting here, that higher cognitive skills, emotional and social intelligence, critical thinking, adaptability. We need to adapt. We need to be agile. And we need students to adapt to the reality. We are not anymore in a world where students will be trained for a job for the next 30 years. We need to prepare them to be successful in their careers. But I can tell you, 50% of the jobs that will be offered in 5 years don't exist today. So we need to provide that, the importance of adaptability to students. Luyuna. And those are, as I said, necessary to solve complex and ambiguous problems. And this is why it's important for us to include this in the way that we train students. And we cannot just talk to them. We need to engage them. And we need to give them experiential learning opportunities to develop those skills. Next slide. Building from skills to mindset requires experience. As I said, it's not just a classroom. I don't believe anymore in the role of the university where a professor will come to a classroom, talk for 3 hours in one way, and leave the classroom and think that students will absorb all the material. I have seen examples, especially now with technology, where faculty member or professor will start their talk. After 10 minutes, nobody is connected to them. We know this. I have my own kids. Everybody is using their smart devices. We need to engage them. The best way for them to learn is to be engaged. And this is the model that we are trying to create in our university. That communication, it's a two-way communication. I don't believe anymore in a lecture of 3 hours. That's past. That's a role of a university in the 19th century. Why? Because technology is changing the way that we operate, changing the way that we teach, changing the way that we work, and unfortunately, changing the way that we live. So this is it's important also in this case to focus on some issues that are important or some skills. As I mentioned, it's important to make sure that students can work in interdisciplinary teams, because that's the way for them to generate ideas, new ideas, and have also the resilience to know advice that I give to our society in Algeria to accept failure, because failure is part of learning. Unfortunately, we educate our kids that failure is not possible. That's wrong. We can fail, But if we learn from that failure, that's learning. And life is about learning. I have seen examples of kids crying because just a small thing, and because of the social pressure, especially from the family, they think they cannot fail. A lot of examples of very successful leaders around the world. They will tell you, I failed 99 times before I get to be successful. Michael Jordan, if you follow basketball, has some very interesting quotes where he will tell you that I failed in terms of shooting 900 times. He was the best player. And I'm sure all other people will tell you the same thing. Just they know that you like football. Messi just won the World Cup with Argentina. Before that game, final game, Messi has never done anything good in World Cup. I think he learned from those failures. If you remember, in previous World Cups, he was awful. I know that at his club was brilliant, but for his own country, this is the first time. And I know that also Copa America did a good thing. But before that was full of failures. So we can learn from failures. Now, the next item here, as I said, I'm talking more about the mindset and how we can create opportunities. And those are the things that we are trying to achieve with our own students. What is the innovator's mindset? A lot of people are asking the question, how do I get qualities? Or what type of qualities I need? What kind of skills? There is actually an interesting paper that was, or a study that was done in our university where we supported a group of researchers from our creative school, from our business school, from our psychology. We had some researchers in neuropsychology, and we had a consultant from outside to help us define what are the skills that are important for innovators. Because we want our students to be innovators. Doesn't mean that we need all our students to be entrepreneurs. That is impossible. We want just to give them that mindset to have the entrepreneurial skills, but we don't force them to be entrepreneurs. So this paper, and actually is published by one of our professors in the school of the creative school, Richard Lachman. They have done this, and they put this in buckets, 3 categories or 4 categories, and in each category we have 3 skills that are important. The first one is the ability to analyze, and for that we need critical thinking and problem solving. We need the ability to adapt to uncertainty and risk assessment. We need creativity. The second category is the importance of connection, communication, collaboration, and curiosity and metacognition. And the ability of connection, I think for the students who are here, this is why I start by mentioning the importance of the language. We are living in a small village in our world. The reality is that almost everything in terms of science, technology, is done in English. My advice to you, youth, students, put efforts to learn English. And I know that, thank you very much. I know that our country has finally adopted this, something that I think is very relevant for you to open up and make sure that you can operate in the small world in the language of technology. Don't neglect Arabic. I'm not saying that. That's important. That's part of our Hawaiian. I'm asking also the youth to do this. We all learn lessons. I'll share with you my own lesson. I don't want you to repeat this. I had 3 degrees and then postdoctoral studies for 5 years. I spent about 15 years, 16 years. My bachelor degree, my master degree, my PhD, and my postdoctoral studies, all in French. I did not speak one single word of English. When I was in Algerian high school, my 3rd language was Spanish. After 15 years, I realized that when I started publishing, nobody was citing me. My first publications were in French. Up to now, I think I have maximum 10 citations for my publications in French. I started learning English by myself. And this is also for the teachers and professors. You can do it. You put effort and you can do it. And I start publishing in English. The latest number, I have about 200 journal publications. The latest number of citation, I think I have 11,500 to 400. So it's not to give you what it is, but also the importance of the language, of sharing your own experience and your scholarly work with the world. Do your best to use the language. في لغات حية وفي لغات ميتة. Somebody asked me recently about the French. I mean, I speak French. As I said, I did all my degrees in French. I respect the language of French. Somebody asked me about, yeah, but this is part of the history. Yes. But my advice was, yes, it's important, but it's about time for our education system to put French in museum. لغة ميتة بالنسبة لي. The 3rd category, execute. Those are the skills that are important. Initiative, persistence, and grit. Persistence actually is part of success. Don't give up. 3rd, adaptability, as I said, al-muruna. The 4th category, growth, is leadership, social and cultural awareness and inclusion. It's important here also in terms of inclusion to include every member of society. I know this is actually in Algeria yesterday, somebody mentioned that in engineering and science, more than 50% of the students are female. In Canada, in engineering, we have maximum 20% of female students in engineering. And this is why the importance of including everybody, because society needs all of us. And the moral integrity and ethics. I think this is important. If you really want to be respected, that moral integrity is extremely powerful. To thrive in an innovation economy, think like an innovator. Mindset. If you want to be successful, think like an innovator. Do all your thinking about this. Make sure that you think big. My advice to the youth, have your dreams big, reaching the sky. Yesterday, I think somebody mentioned the limit is sky, but with the condition that you know that your feet is on earth. يعني التواضع مهم ومهم جدا. So those are the, when we talk about thinking about it, we know that this world that we are living in is moving very fast. So we need also to think about opportunities and not leave the time, give us that, miss the opportunities. I have many examples of entrepreneurs. When you talk to them, will tell you, oh, when somebody is coming with an invention, he will tell you, oh, I had that an idea. But if you leave that idea to somebody else, خلاص, the idea is an old one. Somebody else has already adopted that idea. If you see that idea, move quickly and make sure that you build a venture or startup around your idea, because that is important. And the world that we have is full of challenges. I always say to students, challenges come with opportunities. I know that we have a lot of issues in society, in the world in general, but those are opportunities for entrepreneurs. Think about solutions, adapt solutions, validate solutions. Make sure that those solutions will meet the requirement of society. And I know yesterday we talked about the importance of who is adopting those solutions, those what we call in the jargon of entrepreneurship, those are customers. It's your responsibility to test those ideas with the customers, not to go to the government and ask money, because the government is not responsible for that. So here is the core of my presentation. It talked about my own experience. Last time I was here before the pandemic, they asked me to talk about our innovation ecosystem. I talked about the DMZ, which is our university incubator. We have grown, I would say, for the last 12 years. We started our DMZ University Incubator 12 years ago. Now we have a very robust ecosystem that I'm going to share with you. And during the discussion, we definitely have opportunities to talk more if you have specific questions about that. So we created something very unique. We call it the zone learning. Each zone is actually an innovation zone, is an incubator. Why we create this notion of zone learning is to take the learning from just a classroom to a platform that is common, and that is what we call zone. And we have 10 physical zones where we bring students from different fields to create opportunities, to learn together, but to take their ideas to the next level. That's the concept of the 10 incubators that we have. But within those incubators, we want this to be a journey for students to develop that mindset of innovators and entrepreneurs and learn from each other. Give you an example of zone. We have a world-class fashion school or fashion program. We created a fashion zone, not just for fashion students. We bring students from fashion, but we also bring students from chemistry, the chemistry of the fabric. We bring students from engineering. We know that a lot of wearables, a lot of sensors as part of it. We bring students from business to think about business ideas. They work together and they develop solutions, startups. And in my presentation, I'll give you some of the examples of the startups that were born in those zones. So why we are doing this? As I mentioned, we have 47,000 students. Not every student will be an entrepreneur, but every student can have the ability to enter this journey, develop mindset, even if they don't start their own company. When they go and work for other companies, they already have that thinking where they can help those companies with that. So, and the other aspect is we also think about the role of the university in economic development. Dr. Farid mentioned that university has to serve society. I don't believe anymore that the role of university is provide degrees or credentials. That's important, but that's a small part of it. 19th century, that was probably just you go to a university to get a degree. That's past. Okay. A recipe for successful ventures. And this is part of the learning that is happening in the 10 incubators that we have. We actually provide this through services, training programs, to students. In this case, coaching. We know that coaching is important. We know that mentorship is important for all of us in society. When I was a student, I needed actually support from others to help guide me, and that's the importance of mentorship. When I became president, I still actually reached out to some people with experience to learn from them. That's also mentorship. So coaching and mentorship, we are providing actually to the students in those incubators or zones support from over 350 industry leaders. Our biggest advantage, we are in, as I said, downtown of a mega city. We have connections with the industry. A lot of people will volunteer, come to those zones, spend a couple of hours, guide students, or guide entrepreneurs with some ideas. And the concept of zone learning creates community of entrepreneurs. Nobody will be successful by thinking just about themselves. They have to think about a team, and this is a community of entrepreneurs that we have to create. So in each zone, we create that sense of community, sense of belonging to a community. Number 3, the importance of customers. And I know yesterday we had many questions about this. Some people have brilliant ideas. They think that they have the best idea, but they have never tested the idea with customers. If you don't have customers, the idea will be sitting with you. I think that you or Murat mentioned yesterday a quote from our dear friend and colleague, Habba, Bilgazem Habba. He said that people will love their ideas and they hate when people criticize them. But I think we have to accept that critic, because sometimes actually you come up with an idea, and when you get that feedback, you can improve the idea. So one thing that we also want our entrepreneurs to learn is the ability to adapt their ideas, but also to work with potential customers from the beginning. You cannot invest all what you have, finalize the idea, and go to the market. You need to test this by the market before really reaching that fast thing. Of course, capital, and we do have many programs where we have students. Programs that we support from the university, but also we need agencies, government agencies. We need industry partners who are also putting millions and millions of dollars, because this is something that a lot of industry also will benefit from. Okay, our ecosystem, because I'm mentioning here our ecosystem, and in this graph here, I put the 10 incubators that we have on campus, plus one that we have in another city. So if you see here 11, because I mentioned 10 incubators, and later on I'll talk to you about the big system that we have. So those incubators are in different categories. Sometimes some are mostly early age, where you are just at the phase of testing the market. Some are later stage. So all the zones or incubators are in different verticals, except the last one, what we call the mother incubator, DMZ. DMZ is the biggest, but also is the ultimate goal for students to go to it. I'll tell you, when you have ideas, DMZ has a very rigorous program to accept entrepreneurs, accept students, but we also accept entrepreneurs from outside. The role of the university is not just our own students. We bring also entrepreneurs from outside, including sometimes we accept people internationally to come and visit. I was here in Algeria in 2016. where the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the Ministry of Higher Education organized a conference like this. And actually, I offered free fellowship programs to students, entrepreneurs in universities in the West, Center, and East. And I know some of those students came, and I believe we have somebody, Muhammad, who spent with us four months developing an idea. He was able to develop his idea. He's from the University of Bahrain, Oran. And we put him in touch with some hospitals. And I know that he published in international journals based on that collaboration. So that's the type of things that when we talk about inviting entrepreneurs, even from outside, to come, spend time, and be part of that, the community that we have. Ventures are vehicles not for everyone's destination. As I mentioned here, the DMZ, people who are applying to be members of the community in DMZ, the success rate for people to enter is only 7%. Meaning that if you have 100 people applying, you take just 7. It's very competitive. But this is why we have the rest of the zones to give ability to people to navigate through our ecosystem of innovation. So what we are trying to achieve here is to provide multiple pathways for all to engage and use ventures as access point of innovation. And each one can select which access point, meaning that to enter from one program or another program based on their needs. And I'll give you some of the examples that I have here. We also created a minor in zone learning and another minor in innovation and entrepreneurship for students who are in any of the programs of the university. If you are familiar with the Anglo-Saxon system, you can have a major, but also you have minor or minors in your programs. We provide this as a possibility. You can be an engineering student and go to do a minor in parallel in zone learning or innovation entrepreneurship, because this also will give you extra help to develop some ideas. This is the entrepreneurial ecosystem. This is not something that's specific for us, but we apply this model in the context of the different incubators that we have. And of course, when you talk about entrepreneurship, a lot of people will think that I have an idea and I will achieve $1 million company, $1 billion company. That's achieved by very few people. I'm not here to talk to you about, okay, you enter this journey and you end up with a company of $1 billion. If you have brilliant ideas and the conditions are there for you to be successful, alhamdulillah. If not, at least you will be part of a system. And in a ecosystem like this, so you start from awareness. And that awareness, as you can see this funnel here, is open to a lot of people. And this is to introduce entrepreneurial mindset and skills and develop a community that can inspire others to engage. Then you narrow that funnel to the ideation phase, where we have ideation programs supported by local academic institutes to give innovators the opportunity to build their own ideas. And I'll give examples also, but some of the zones that are linked to existing research institutes or research centers. Then the incubation phase. This is the one where DMZ can play a major role, really to prepare successful entrepreneurs to a phase of incubation and take them to an acceleration phase. And because of our location in downtown Toronto, we have also partnership with other accelerators in the city, where you have some startups that they can graduate from DMZ and move to those accelerators. And in this case, it will be much more growth for them. Entrepreneurial, even when not entrepreneurs. As I said, the mindset for us is more important, even if not all students will be entrepreneurs. We offer also, as part of this ecosystem, opportunities for students for work-integrated learning. There's a lot of demand from the industry for students who have that experience in work-integrated learning. We can also integrate those students in those zones or in collaboration with the industry to gain that practical experience. Problem-based learning, especially in programs like engineering. We have many opportunities for problem-based learning where students, instead of doing a capstone project, design project, we can integrate them in one of the zones to work with startups on specific programs, and they can learn that environment from that experience. And in addition to that, we also provide them with funding. So the placement of students can also benefit them in terms of making some money. Then same thing, project-based learning that is done in the industry and so on. Now I'm going to talk about some of the programs that we design for students, specific programs based on the needs of students. Some students, the first category here, are looking for experience, just to think about their future careers. We put them in a program, we called it Talent Accelerator. This is an accelerator for talent. We have a specific program that is funded by the government of Canada in the area of healthcare, technology and healthcare. And in this case, we provide them with support, funding, but we put them also with industry association that they can integrate them to develop their talent. Most of the time, those are people who are very successful. They can develop talent in specific sectors, and when they finish, they can go and work for those sectors. Explorers, students are there to learn from experiences of others. And we have a program called Experience Ventures, where we integrate them also with startups to learn that experience and their journey, but also we integrate them as placement students, where they can also gain money by doing that. I mentioned the minor in innovation and zone learning. This is to engage students who have ideas and they don't know what to do with those ideas. So that minor will open their eyes to the possibilities. After that, they may start that journey of entrepreneurship. The creators, people, this is mainly for graduate students who are working on important research programs. I know this is for many universities here in Algeria, it's important. We have a program called Lab to Market. It's funded by the government of Canada, where we take those students, grad students most of the time, and we prepare them, help them to take their ideas from the lab to implement in real life, in industry. This is our ecosystem. It will take me probably one day just to talk about the complexity of our ecosystem. I put this in 3 categories. The first, left hand side of this slide here is, remember I started the presentation by the importance of developing skills. Those are the different programs that we have here to develop skills. I mentioned the accelerator one, the MedTech Talent Accelerator. We have Tech Talent Accelerator. We have Lab Practice Program. We have a Magnet, which is a platform actually that connects now students from all universities and colleges in Canada to the industry. This program, Magnet, or this company started in the DMZ, And now it has been a big success story, helping the entire system in Canada, connecting universities, all Canada's universities and colleges to the industry. The government of Canada invests at least $500 million in this program that is run by this company called Magnet. SHAD Canada is also a program. This is a program for all Canada, but we use it also to help our students. SHAD actually is a program that is targeting youth in schools. Murad, yesterday you mentioned the young individual who was here. SHAD program is really targeting those type of students where each summer you run a program for them. You select them from high schools, you bring them to the university environment, and then you help them develop that mindset to be ready, to be impactful, because those are students who are brilliant. And I think what we need to do is really to guide them, help them, mentor them, and coach them. So this is the first category. The second category is entrepreneurs building startup. As I mentioned, we do have on our campus 10 incubators or innovation zones, and then we have a number of them outside our campus. The last slide, or the last part of the slide, is the TMU Advancing Ecosystems. Because of the success of DMZ and other zones, we have been approached by many partners. Those partners could be actually local governments, municipalities of cities who want really to have a collaboration. For now, we have a presence in 10 different countries. I'm sorry, we don't have yet one in Algeria, but in the region, actually, we have an incubator that we just opened last year in the new capital city of Egypt. And we also have now a campus of our university is in the new administrative capital of Egypt. But you see the presence in 10 countries, and I will talk about that in a little bit. What the impact? Of course, this is an investment by our university. We measure our impact because it's important. As a president, I am accountable to a board of governors, and when they see the university investing, they always ask about the impact. Just to give you some numbers here. We have 22,000 students who are engaged annually in one of the activities in the ecosystem. Each semester, we have at least 250 new members or officially part of a zone or a program. And students who already benefited from that, we have 6,700 members of alumni. Here is the importance of inclusion. 47 of those entrepreneurs or students are female. The number of startup incubators are there. And as I mentioned, not everybody there is from our university. 50% are extended members coming from other communities to join us. We created 4,400 jobs. I think when we talk about impact on the local economy, this is a major thing. And the startups or the companies that were born in our ecosystem, they have collected or raised $1.8 billion so far. Here is our footprint around the world. We do have in Canada, we have in our campus downtown Toronto. We have one in the city of Brampton, which is just northwest of Toronto, which is part of the Greater Toronto area. If you visit Canada and you go to Niagara Falls, the city of Niagara Falls has one of our incubators. We do have one in another city called Innisfil. It's about 80 kilometers north of Toronto. Around the world, at the present time, we have a presence in the Caribbean. Jamaica and other islands around it. We have incubator program there. We have one in Bermuda. Triangle of Bermuda is known for other reasons. I mentioned our presence now in Egypt, in Cairo. In Jordan, we run a program for women entrepreneurs that is fully funded by the government of Canada. Very successful program for the last, we started about 3 years ago, 4 years ago. We have a presence in India. We are in the city of Mumbai in partnership with the Bombay Stock Exchange, Bursa Hnak. If you go to the tower, we occupy one floor, 18th floor of the Bombay Stock Exchange Tower. We have program in South Korea, program in Japan, and also we have an incubator in the city of Ho Chi Minh in Vietnam. Those are the existing programs that we have for now. As I mentioned, expanding entry points for innovation depends on the interest from students. We give them different opportunities. And in this slide, just a summary of those opportunities: Talent Accelerator, Minors, the SHAD program, Professional Skills Development, Experience Venture, Zone Navigators, and so on. I know that time is limited. I'm not going to spend a lot of time here. Advancing a national ecosystem, that's the role of the university, how the university mission and vision is also aligned with the vision of the country. Dr. Farid has mentioned the importance of alignment. When you are a university, you have to think also about what are the priorities of the country. And we have established here a number of initiatives that are really aligned with the priorities for the entire country, but also with focus sometimes on underserved population. We have now a program that is very successful for Black innovators. We have a program in supporting of women entrepreneurs. You may ask the question about why you do this, because as I said, if you go to engineering schools in Algeria, 50% are female. If you go to Canada, it's only less than 20%. So there's also some programs to encourage presence of women, but also presence of indigenous people. You know, سكان الأصليين في كندا هم هنود الحمر. Unfortunately, their culture has been severely damaged. The future is compromised, and it's our responsibility as a university that is to think about those people as well and provide them with opportunities to be successful. Very briefly about this experience that we have in the city of Brampton. Brampton is a city of about 700,000 people, just north of Toronto. It's part of the Greater Toronto area. The city approached us saying that we are losing a lot of our talent, a lot of youth are going to Toronto. Why we don't create opportunities for them to create their own companies in the city? They provide us with funding, with space, and this project has been extremely successful for us. We started working on a number of verticals that align with the priorities of the city: community health, manufacturing, transit, food processing, and media arts. And we have been in operation for 2 years now. And they're very happy because they are actually one of the things they want, how to retain those around the world. Leveling up with innovation experience. As I said, the number of programs that we were on is really to provide opportunities for students to also build an experience that can be also valuable on their CVs. Even if they don't start a company, they get that experience, they get the skills and the mindset where they apply for jobs, they are really to contribute to those companies. And in the bottom of the slide here, some numbers for the last couple of years during the pandemic, from 2020 to now, we have almost 600 students who have been in those programs. We also have companies that are hosting those students, more than 120 companies. The funding that we get to support those students is in the order of $5.5 million. I'm not going to talk about specific of those programs, but I'll probably leave it towards the end of the session today. I know that we are limited in time because we want also to have your questions and participation in this. But just maybe when we talk about the Experience Venture, talk about what are the opportunities we give to students. We organize hackathons, we organize independent project-based work, team-based student in residence programs, challenge-based activities, and interdisciplinary exchange. And the idea is to give opportunities for students to go to that journey of experience, reflection, thinking, but also acting. And I hope this conference, I know yesterday Murad and Mohammed talked about what's next. You know, sometimes you do an excellent journey, and if you don't think about next, it will be just a good memory. I think it's important to think about next steps in this case. The Talent Accelerator, as I said, we are leading this project, but also in collaboration with a number of universities across Canada, McGill University in Montreal, UBC in Vancouver, Calgary, Dalhousie in Halifax. And this program is funded by the National Research Agency, NSERC, in the order of $1.65 million. The minor, I already talked about the minor in zone learning or mining innovation and entrepreneurship. Just some of the examples of what the students has benefited from this. Quote from a student who was one of those minors, where he said, "You are in control of your learning outcomes and empowered to make them as valuable as they can be." A quote from one of the students. I talked about lab to market. This is really to take ideas from the market, from the lab to market, in support of entrepreneurship and creation of startups. And this program, as I mentioned, is funded by the National Research Agency supporting science and technology. So far, almost 300 teams from institutions across Canada have been supported in the last couple of years. The 10 zones, I have one slide per zone, but this is a summary of the zones that we have. We have one in biomedical engineering. And I know that this is a sector that's important for many countries. This zone was created actually in collaboration between us, TMU, and still remember I was Dean of Engineering. I met with the VP Research and Innovation in Hospital. I said, we talked to each other about the importance of doing something. And he invited us in the Faculty of Engineering to visit them. And we started creating an innovation or an institute for collaboration between engineers, scientists, and clinicians in the hospital. We created an institute. And next door to the institute, we create an incubator where actually now surgeons can work with engineers to create ideas and companies. Still remember the surgeon chief of the hospital called St. Mike's Hospital told me, I love, as a surgeon, I love when I have engineers with me in the surgery room because they always bring some ideas about how to improve my practice as surgeon. A clean energy zone is, as you know, with the climate change and all the issues, it's important for us to think about development of areas where we can do a better job in terms of energy. We have one that is associated with the National Center for called Urban Energy Center. We have a design fabrication zone. Of course, the DMZ, I mentioned something about DMZ. I mentioned the fashion zone. We have an innovation booth zone that is mainly for engineering students to take their ideas in parallel of a master program in energy, in innovation and entrepreneurship. And in this case, we have students going through that process of journey of innovation. We have one in legal innovation zone. You may ask me about, do we have, how we can create innovation in the legal profession? Yes. Yesterday we had a lot of presentation about the importance of AI. If you bring AI to the legal profession, there's a lot of benefit to it. And this zone actually is really to bring that aspect of AI and other technologies to incorporate them to the innovation zone. And actually the director of the innovation zone, the legal innovation zone, is a former Minister of Justice, because he came saying that our justice system is very conservative and they don't use technology in moving things. He quit politics. We hired him as director for this legal innovation zone to start thinking about it. We started the law school 3 years ago, and the law school is really about innovation. And the other thing that we have, for each class, the people who are teaching, we have one faculty member from the university and one professional lawyer coming to the class and talk about their own experience to the students. Social venture is important. Not all ideas here are about technology. We need also to think about social and cultural aspects. And many of the initiatives are really dealing with the needs on the social aspect of things. And transmedia zone is an area where you find bloggers, musicians, filmmakers, video gamers, and other storytellers across entertainment media, pushing the boundaries and narrative and creating their own startups. I am not going to spend time on each of this. Just examples here, for example, the fashion zone. One of the companies is called Inkbox, was actually started by two brothers in the company. This company was this year acquired by the French company BIC, B-I-C, for it was $65 million for a company that was created by two brothers in the fashion zone. The majority was started by one of our students, originally from Iran. It's in the business of jewelry. And now I can tell you I have 3 daughters. Everybody is ordering from her online. Very successful initiative. We are talking here about also the DMZ and some of the companies. Maybe the example that I can give here is Flybits. Flybits is a software platform that was started by one of our students. He was the co-founder of the DMZ. If you ask me why you start those initiatives, it's mainly because based on student needs. Many students, they have some ideas. We have to trust them, develop those ideas. This person is the co-founder for the DMZ, but also he founded his company Flybits, and now is very successful company. He was in computer science. He did his bachelor, master, and PhD with us in computer science. Now he's the CEO of the company, but also we kept him as a faculty member, as a connector to the industry. His name is Hussein Rahmana, also originally from Iran. Innovation Boost, legal innovation, examples of other successful, especially on the social aspect. This student who graduated from an undergraduate program and Master of Digital Media, she's disabled, created her own company. She's now very known around the world for Access Now, which is a platform to help people with disabilities navigate the system and find a way to access services. She's one of the, as I said, one of the alumni of our system. Our success is open source. We share ideas, we learn from others, and we are also here to hear from you. If you have ideas, happy also to consider ideas for collaboration. And why we are doing all this? Because we think this is a new way of being more impactful in society, more impactful in terms of the reputation of the university, but also a new way for us to contribute better to society and to the world around us. With that, I will stop here. Thank you so much for your attention. Mohammed, I'm doing publicity for Nukhab.